What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Long Box Sessions. A little prop comedy for you there in the morning if you're on YouTube. I'm your host, Alex Tandino.
And I'm Carrot Top. No, I'm just kidding. I'm Josh Griffey.
Your hair's very Carrot Top-like right now.
Yeah, no, I was wondering. I was like, is he doing a bit? Is this the mental breakdown we've all been waiting for? I didn't know what was happening. It was good.
Oh, my God. Guys, as always, catch us on all your socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We're all over the place. And whatever RSS feed you decide to use to find us, we implore you, subscribe, rate, review. Please, for the love of God. It helps us so much.
Yeah, especially on the iTunes, the Apple Podcast app, guys. Those little rating and reviews help out a ton, and we do appreciate it.
Get us in the rankings.
Also, find us on YouTube. That's Nerd Alchemist with an S at the end. So, you can find us. There's no icon,
but I'm going to point down here anyways because that's where people do.
Click
down here. Guys, also, we, of course, have our other show, Film Alchemist. Please go check us out this month where the pod breaks bread. We're talking about movies with very uncomfortable dinner scenes. So far, we've talked about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, Home for the Holidays, and The Invitation, which is bar none probably one of my new favorite movies.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Of recent years, definitely one of my faves.
Yeah, we've got amazing new ones coming. And then if you guys want to participate, Longbox listeners, Film Alchemist, whoever, you guys send us your suggestions for movies you'd like us to cover. We're going to pick 4 to 5 of them for December, maybe more depending on what we can schedule. And then we're going to stuff your stocking, right? So you guys give us your movie picks. It can be about anything. We've already got 2. And we're looking to fill out the rest of our list. So you guys tell us what you want, and we going to give it to you. Like DMX.
X going to give it to you.
See, I knew you were going to go straight there. No one in our age demographic can hear that and not go, X going to give it to you. Not Longbox, X going to give it to you.
Oh, guys, one more thing of housekeeping. I apologize.
Oh, God.
Life found a way to prevent me from doing some of these shows. We've been able to do Film Alchemist. Longbox has been a little on the back burner. I apologize. I know some of you have been asking. I honestly have had, it's been my fault. I've had family stuff and life stuff and work stuff and all that stuff. But I love you guys, and I want you to know you're always in my hearts. Thank you very much for sticking with us. New show. Won't do this again. Guys, Griffey, I want to talk about what I think is probably the greatest nostalgia engine of our time today, the Disney Plus app that was released a week ago.
The Disney what?
The Disney Plus app. Have you heard of this?
Oh, that fucking thing that ruined all of my social media for the entire week? Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that.
It's this Disney Plus app of some kind has invaded our lives and completely overtaken social media, media in general.
Yeah, yes. What I love too is it's everyone's chance to be like, I like Disney the most, or here's this forgotten Disney gem. It's like, guys, there aren't forgotten Disney gem. Everyone knows what the Black Cauldron is. I've owned that shit on DVD for like 15 years, guys. Stop telling me there are gems that no one's ever heard of until Disney Plus.
Yeah. That's the other thing. The Black Cauldron and Bedknobs and Broomsticks, people are like, oh, remember this movie? I'm like, yes, in fact, I do. It's a Disney movie.
But this is what I text you, right? It's this unbelievable thing where you have to sit there, and Disney is maybe the only studio, the only set of cartoons and movies that are essentially universal to all of us.
Right.
Every single one. You sit there and you go, have you ever seen the Apple Dumpling Gang? Yes, because I had parents, and if it had Disney on the box, I was made to watch it so they could go smoke cigarettes or whatever, right? I know the game, right? We all remember all of it, and it is this but this is what I was asking you, right?
Right.
Is the nostalgia of Disney going to wear off? Because this, I think you could say this is the official start of the streaming wars, right? I know that we've already had a lot of this for a while.
Oh, no, this is the first shot over the bow.
This is the big one, right? Because someone compared, well, this is the thing, right? Disney is a vertically integrated machine where not only have they bought out so many of their rivals with rival catalogs, right? When business is dipping, they can do, oh, here's all the Alien movies, right? So they can do all of these cool things. but they own the properties. Right. So unlike Netflix, they're not renting or borrowing against money. They have this massive library of things they know that we've already wanted forever.
Right.
So I think this is the scary one. Like everyone's like, well, CBS already made an app. Cool. No one wants it. Yeah. Only old people that can't use the internet watch CBS.
Nobody wants CBS All Access for 2 shows. Like, just put it on regular CBS.
And I don't think anyone has AMC's app, right? Like, this is the one. And this is the thing. People have been making their own content, but this is the juggernaut now in the ring. And we see that everyone's going to start pulling back. And what does this mean for everyone else? So this feels like the start of the streaming wars. I guess my question is to you, is Disney Plus that good? Right? Like, we built it up as this juggernaut behemoth.
Right. Well, let's break this down, like, how it works. Like, obviously, if you're listening to this pod, I'm assuming you have Disney Plus. Because let's be honest, not a lot of people who listen to this show wouldn't be people who would, like, automatically.
I would love to know how many people are signing up for this in a 1-week period. I bet the number is going to be staggering.
I bet it's pretty good.
And it's cheap. It's, what, $7 a month?
Yeah. So here's the thing this is the interesting thing about Disney Plus is I think there's something upwards of like 3,000 titles, like movies and TV shows available right now. That is, I don't know, a 16th of the catalog that they have available to them and probably will get rolled out over the next like year and a half. Like, there's Marvel movies that aren't on there yet. Yeah. You'd assume like from the get-go, almost all 23 of those motherfuckers would be up there. The only things I think they're not allowed to put up there are Spider-Man movies.
The Last Jedi's not on there.
Last Jedi's not on there. But if you search those movies, this is interesting because I wanted to see if like they popped up anyways. So, because there's some stuff where if I search for it, it'll come up on a search. It doesn't necessarily like show up in my like feed. So I searched for like Solo because they have Rogue One but not Solo. I'm like, why is Solo not on here? Like, it's dramatically better movie than Rogue One, but all right, sure, whatever. So I searched for Solo and it said coming like July 2020. So
they're just waiting for the pullback of everything,
right? So what they're doing is like they're pacing some releasing out because I know like it's not all the Marvel movies up there. Yeah, not all of them are on there for sure. Like Thor Ragnarok's not up there, but they have like the first 2 Thors. So I mean, like they're pacing some stuff out, but you realize when you look at that, also all the Simpsons seasons are up there. But that's like really the only substantial Fox property short of cartoons that's like part of the new Disney Plus app. The rest of it is all original programming and stuff that's coming out of the vault. So, I mean, I don't know. Ultimately, like, I would say the nostalgia factor really has to be a huge part of your life for a prolonged period of time for this to kind of like sustain itself. Like, I have a kid, so I know for a fact I'm keeping that thing. Like, we have a 6-month-old son. So I'm keeping that fucking thing for a long time simply because I want to show him all the Disney movies. I want to show him all that stuff. Like, this came around at a perfect time where I don't have to go buy. I probably have like 5 out of the vault Disney DVDs that now I don't need because we have this app.
Yeah, it's interesting too because this is the other angle I was wondering. I have the kind of miniature cable package through Hulu where I pay the $40 a month. Right. That comes with all of the Disney Network stuff, right? So I can wait until they're showing Frozen whatever on Disney XD or Disney Kids, and I can just DVR it if I need to. Because if my kids are watching, they don't give a fuck if there's a commercial. They actually appreciate the commercials. So like, more toys and shit I can buy. Oh, I want to watch that show.
Well, there's this.
So I'm interested if that is. Are they going to remove that from the Hulu cable package eventually?
I wonder because there's also that bundle for $12.99 a month. You can get Hulu Plus, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus.
Yeah, because I remember at one point I thought I heard that Fox was going to buy Hulu or had. So this could just be like a whole massive business thing that I'm missing. But
it's
so funny
bizarre.
Because this is the thing, right? I think I was like everyone else where I was like, oh, I'll sign up for Disney Plus and check it out.
Right.
I honestly, other than the only things I've watched on there are National Geographic shows. Which, what a fantastic addition to the library, right?
Honestly, that's fine. Like, I've actually talked to. I've been
crushing nature shows.
The other day. Well, I was talking with Andrea and a couple of our friends about this the other day. Like, I've mainly watched documentary series on because, like, one, the original stuff that they actually have installed on there, that's their original programming, short of like The Mandalorian, which we'll get to. But like, the Imagineering story is really interesting if you like that kind of stuff. Like, I like knowing like some history stuff, and Imagineering particularly is really fascinating because the history of it is really, really, really long. But then like all the National Geographic stuff is cool, and like even that World According to Jeff Goldblum, which should be like a fucking fart in the wind, is actually really fun to watch. Like, it's bizarre.
I prefer his other show, How to Make Women Shockingly Uncomfortable for Tons of Years.
I think what's interesting is we all get to feel sort of a sliver of that uncomfortableness while he's that close to the camera doing this the whole time.
I love Jeff Goldblum, but there's no part of me that hears those stories and I'm like, that sounds shocking to me. You know, Jeff Goldblum feels like kind of the hippie energy guy where you're like, of course he's way too close. Of course he's way too touchy-feely, right? Like, I can see those people from a mile away because I'm a big, like, we don't need to touch each other. Like, we can just talk and hang out.
I actually I was watching the credits, and one of my friends, I always like to try to watch the credits on those kinds of shows because normally I end up knowing someone. And one of my friends actually worked on the show. So I texted him immediately after. I was like, hey, tell me a funny story about this show. And he's like, well, the director got really annoyed with Jeff Goldblum because Jeff Goldblum can't stay on topic. So all he'll do is like they'll be like, talk about ice cream. And he'll be like, yes, this ice cream reminds me of this wonderful Italian movie from 1927. Like, he'll always relate it back to classic cinema, apparently, but never stay on topic about like what they need him. Like, that he won't give them the sound bites, which is kind of funny because when you watch that show, the stream of consciousness voiceover, I'm like, of course. They're just like letting him go into the booth and just do whatever he wants for 4 hours. And then like, all right, well, we'll just clip together whatever the hell we can for that. Like, and look, it's fun. Like, I really enjoy it. Like, there's that Kristen Bell show Encore where they have like people who graduated. It might be one of the more tragic things. People who graduated high school coming back and doing like an encore presentation of some musical that they did, which... No, like that. Like, I got tagged in some posts from people from high school. Like, oh, wouldn't it be cool? I'm like, no, actually, it wouldn't. I would never want to do that. Like, that. But that factors into what we're talking about, though, which is like, that might be like the ultimate nostalgia show, which is like, oh, let's go relive the glory days of high school theater. Like, that in a nutshell encapsulates sort of what I think might be the problem we're all seeing with maybe some of this Disney Plus stuff, which is like, we're all going to get nostalgia'd out. Eventually, there's not going to be enough original programming, and we're all going to have to like go back to the well, and it's going to basically become like a parent shush machine for kids.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem I had is that most of the stuff I'd really want to watch, I've owned in physical media form for 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, I've had all the Star Wars movies multiple times for a long time.
Right.
I have a ton of the Disney movies. Because I've had kids for 5 years, you know what I mean? So there's not a need for me to have Coco, you know, streaming. I have Coco on Blu-ray.
Coco's also on Netflix.
Yeah, and then it's like also I don't have to worry about my kid like, you know, trying to flip through other channels. I just like, oh, it's the Blu-ray. That's all it is. They know if they turn it off, it's done, right? So I like the Blu-ray trap for kids. So I'm a little torn, and I went back and watched a bunch of the cartoons from my youth, and you're like, wow, the animation and voice acting in these is so bad.
Oh,
and there's kind of like
Isn't
some
it
weird.
Tough?
It's funny because it reminds me, you do this as video gamers sometimes, where like I'll go back and be like, Halo 1, my favorite video game ever. And then you play it and you're like, holy shit, this is unbearable.
Yeah.
You know, things just don't age well. And it's fun. No, like, I'll always love that X-Men series, right?
Absolutely.
Wildly important to my childhood. It's kind of a gateway into all of this great mythology and these characters that then I went on to have relationships with. But if you still think that's actually a really awesome TV show, okay, that's good for you, man. Like, that show, the animation, just watch the first episode. It's unbearable to watch. It's
pretty rough.
So bad. But you're like, I still like some of the big arcs and stories, but you're like, that's going to be a show now. I'm not going to watch, you know, Jubilee gets an orange Julius in like episode 7. You know, I'm going to be like, all right, we'll do greatest hits so my kids can see like Hallmark stories. And if they want to watch it, that's fine. But it's just not good.
It's interesting. Like, all of my Saturday morning cartoon watches are now on this app. Like I remember watching X-Men, Spider-Man. When it was out, I watched the Silver Surfer show, and now I watched the first 3 episodes of that Silver Surfer show again.
Yeah,
not for kids, not at all. No, in fact.
Well, the problem that's like Hulk and Iron Man and Silver Surfer had that problem where it's like, what is any of this for? Yeah. X-Men and Spider-Man at least always were storyline wise on point. Right. The animation just hasn't aged well. It's one of those you can watch Darkwing Duck and Bonkers and Gargoyles all still feel like they work really well today. Yeah. The animation's just much better, right? Yeah. Like it still has some moments where you're, all right, not great. And again, if you're like me and you watch anime mostly, you're super spoiled. Anime has just always been better than anything we've done. Right. So, it's kind of one of those, all right, like I like showing it to my kids. Like our thing that we found on it is the Mighty Duck animated, which I forgot how enormously that's like a show I just all the way forgot.
I watched it. What did it have 2 seasons? I remember watching that show religiously.
Something like that. But
I missed basketball.
Do you remember
games, so I could watch that show?
I used to draw the duck logo, and I was obsessed with the guy with the fire sword. So like me and my friends had our thing, and I was like, oh fuck, like I vaguely remembered it always, but this brought it back, right?
Yeah.
It's not like do you remember that major theatrical release back in when we were kids? If you missed a cartoon in the morning, it was gone. Yeah. And some of these shows that only lasted a year, you might have seen like 2 of them.
I remember having to go to basketball and being deeply depressed I was going to miss Spider-Man. Like, not only that, it was a Spider-Man I really wanted to see. It might have been like either a Doctor Strange. It was the only Doctor Strange episode, or it was the Carnage episode.
Yeah.
It was the follow-up.
Not even that. Do you remember missing one X-Men cartoon?
Oh,
and then
yeah.
all of a sudden you come back and you're like, wait, Rogue is 72 years old? What happened since I watched like 1 week ago?
Yeah,
it's baffling.
I remember.
But this is what I mean, though. So I did that, and we watched a couple episodes, and my kids were already like, yeah, it's all right. Take it or leave it, right? This is where I'm wondering about the app, because there's nothing that on there. I like it because it was my childhood.
Totally.
Some of it you just naturally are kind of like, all right, there's just better versions of these things for me as an adult man. And my kids don't give a fuck, right? My kids, you could turn on anything on Disney or anything from Hulu. Amazon Prime has a lot of, kids programming. Netflix, they all do kids programming pretty well.
Yeah.
My kids aren't going to care. Eventually, when this comes, push comes to shove, what are you getting rid of? In my rankings, I think Disney is my least important app to keep, right? Disney and Netflix are my 2 least important apps to have.
Yeah.
I think Disney because I already own so much of it, and Netflix because most everything they make is not worth watching. And I fear that Netflix, they're going to start peeling library off.
Right. And I would actually put Netflix last at this point because I like watching Disney Plus shows now. Like, I'll say this, like,
you mean Disney Plus show? Their one show?
Shows. I'll say this for the first, and this could just be, the novelty of having it available to me now is, like, I have spent the last week, like, watching cartoons and watching stuff that I hadn't seen in a very long time. Like even the Disney Vault stuff, like I hadn't seen 101 Dalmatians. I was like, oh, I haven't watched this in a long time. Just, when you have a kid, those even at 6 months, he's still like drawn to sounds and that kind of shit. Mm-hmm. Like I'm still curious and interested, and I want to but I haven't seen some stuff. I'm like, how does this hold up? And like, I also rewatch a lot of these movies. I'm like, man, with an adult's eye, these stories are horrible. Like some of these people are the worst. Like I actually have this debate in the office a lot with people, but I actually think that at the beginning of Beauty and the Beast, Belle is in fact the villain of the story for quite some time. She spends the entire first number bitching about how like basic bitches everyone in town are. Like he's like, oh, the baker just giving out bread. I'm like, oh yeah, that hardworking person. Yeah, how dare they? Yeah. While you just like frolic around and read books. And then she does the entirety through the rest of the song while Gaston's singing. She like does the like 16th century equivalent of texting while driving, where she's just reading a book and not looking around at anything. She's like, get out of my way. I'm very important. I'm reading this book I've read 6 times. But also, Gaston's definitely like super insecure about being illiterate and definitely in love with LeFou. Like there's a lot of like new things I'm picking up
on. Also how
on.
Belle just 100% halfway through is like, oh, this motherfucker got a castle and a library. I can pretend to love him.
She has like hardcore Stockholm syndrome. Like, it's terrifying.
Oh yeah. Well, do you think if Beast had a giant hunting lodge like Gaston instead of a library, that Belle manages to fall in love with them? Get the fuck out of here, guys. Come on. No. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, I've owned Beauty and the Beast for 20 years. Like, that's where I wonder.
It is the one. It is the one DVD we own.
I hate the Mandalorian thing, right? Where it's like, now we're gonna like force this out 1 week at a time to try to keep you from not canceling your subscription. It's ridiculous. That's the only thing I want to watch on this channel, and I have to wait 1 week, one episode per week. I hate that. This is something that, and I hear this argument a lot, right? There's a lot of these arguments on film Twitter, especially, where physical media is still important, man. No, it's not. It's absolutely not. It's important to you as a collector, and they love to do this every time some studio, like, you know, Netflix is losing The Office. They're like, see, I told you, if you had DVDs of The Office. You're like, yeah, if people had DVDs of The Office, they wouldn't have watched as many episodes of The Office. Because they wouldn't want to get up and look for the disc and put it in, and it's all straw man arguments. Physical media is important, bro. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's absolutely not. And then there's this, oh, God, it's so important that The Mandalorian is a 1 week at a time release. No, it's not. It builds anticipation.
No.
Take it from someone who's not watching it and loves Star Wars. It doesn't. And then he's like, the third thing that's most important, it gives us time to predict what's going to happen. I said, absolutely, you know what's better than that? Letting professional, really talented screenwriters tell you the story. Right? Yeah. We all went through this with Game of Thrones. Remember all the fun we had predicting everything that was coming? And then when it finally came, it didn't live up to our expectations? Like, I mean, you can just give me the the streaming wars have changed everything, right? The 1 week at a time model doesn't matter anymore. We don't need, let me watch a show.
I'm going to tell you right now.
If you want to wait and watch it 1 week at a time, do that.
There's no 1 week at a time shit. They don't do it to build anticipation. I'm going to tell you right now what it is, and we talked about this before the show, and it's the only reason they're doing one episode a week. It's because if they released all 8 episodes of The Mandalorian the week this thing came out, everyone would have gotten the free 7-day trial and then fucking bailed.
That was my exact
1,000%.
That was my exact plan. So now I have to cancel after this free trial and then use my wife's email to just watch The Mandalorian when season 1 is.
100% that. Like, I can't imagine.
Well, isn't that a problem? Hey, Disney, gigantic fucking monster, property owner and maker, maybe have had a couple other shows on deck. You know, maybe The Mandalorian, Ripley goes to Hogwarts, or whatever the fuck else they
do. But, like, The Mandalorian's The Mandalorian. Like, again, like, think about...
They don't have any other show that the average person really cares about. Right? I don't watch the High School Musical show like you. I don't really care about The Life According to Goldblum.
I don't watch High School Musical show.
No, but I'm saying the show where they go back and redo their shows or whatever.
I didn't fucking watch that. It would have made me depressed. I don't
Okay, then what are you watching on there? This is what we've watched in the Griffey house, right? I watched Black Hole because my family's like, we have to watch something. I'm like, I'm not watching any, because my wife's like, maybe, Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. I'm like, that movie's borderline unwatchable.
What's Black Hole?
You've never seen Black Hole with Anthony Perkins sci-fi thing? It's on Disney Channel.
Oh, okay.
It's a fun flick. I think you'd like it. I was like, all right, this is something Dad can watch. It's on Disney, so I can say it's for them too, but really it was for me. Right. We watched like 3 episodes of Mighty Ducks and X-Men. We already own Darkwing Duck and Gargoyles. And you're like, all right, that's it. Like, I'm Disney'd out. I watch the nature shows. They have an exceptional amount of nature shows. So I was like, I'll clean those out.
Yeah.
And then I'm good. I'm caught up. But this is my problem, is that it's so baked into the cake that they don't need to do anything for us because, and again, most of the people that have it are way bigger Disney fans than me and own the disc.
Right.
They're just excited because that's the thing. Disney's become this kind of cult where you can't say a bad thing about Disney. You can't say that something they make isn't very good. You can't not be a part of Disney, right? When they open a thing, you have to go. You have to get Instagram pics at Disney. You can't not have Disney Plus. You would be a bad Disney person. I think the app came out kind of weak. Like, without National Geographic, I think this app is weak as fuck.
I'm going to tell you this. I don't think it's that weak, but I definitely think it has the downside.
I think, again, this is with the caveat that I think most of us own the things on the network we would already want to watch. right? Like if you owned no Disney or no Saturday morning cartoons, this is probably quite the boon, right? But a lot of us already own this stuff.
I mean, yes, I think it's a value. Like, there's value in. Look, I'll tell you right now, I haven't seen Tailspin, but also I wasn't like looking to see it. But there's just shit you get to see that you didn't see in a while. I'm not gonna go out and buy like one of my favorite Disney movies is Sword in the Stone. Yes, I've owned Sword in the Stone for a long time, but at the same time, I don't care. Like, it's all in one place now. It's the convenience factor. There's a convenience factor in there. What I do think is a huge miss and something that they absolutely should have done that they didn't do was, how can you release The Mandalorian and not one of those fucking Marvel shows? Not doing one of those Marvel shows with the release is a huge problem.
That feels like a swing and a miss. They
absolutely could have released. It's like, What If is absolutely primed to be released with the premiere of that app, because quite frankly, you don't need anything else for it. Like, it's all animated. Like, what are they waiting on? Like, I think that's a huge misfire. Not like pressing Marvel and being like, guys, I know you just got done making the most expensive movie of all time, but can you guys maybe have at least one show ready for us to go?
Yeah, well, I think 3 years from now, these will all be moot, right? This just rolls. This is the week soft rollout.
But that's what would have made it worthwhile for people like you who are going to get a 7-day trial. It's like, oh, maybe I'll stick around if this show's like, if they're going to keep releasing these shows.
I mean, there's just too many great apps, right? You're like, I already have Criterion, I've got HBO, I've got Netflix, I've got Amazon, I've got Hulu, I've got Crunchyroll. It's absurd, right? Showtime, Cinema. Like, I have so many apps. It's absurd. And if you look at it just on what are they offering that I don't. And again, people are going to say, well, you contradicted yourself saying that people will stream The Office more than they will watch physical disc. Yeah, that's true for The Office, because that's something we put on to mostly ignore. That's a background show. That's not the case for a film, right? I'm not putting on Moana to then just search my social media. I'll watch The Office while I do that, right? It's like that joke, like Netflix needs a surfing your phone category. The Office and Friends would dominate that. But
I think that Netflix has a big. I'm very interested to see what happens at the end of this year, into the new year, because I think Netflix is about to have a huge hole that they're not taking very seriously. Because again, if you look at numbers and I work in the business, so I pay attention to some of this stuff. Like, it's one of those things where it's like the worst kept secret that Netflix is kind of not on the up and up with their numbers and that kind of thing, because once NBC takes back, like, they bought Seinfeld. I'm like, well, okay, that's like what, us? That's again, like, that's for us.
Our parents,
But also, because we haven't seen Seinfeld on streaming, it's been on Hulu, but like, I bought a bunch of seasons of Seinfeld. Like, I own seasons of Seinfeld. So like, once
and if you have if you have Hulu like me, you can just watch it on TBS 4 hours a day.
I've watched it on Hulu, but like, I think there's a huge problem coming that The Office and Parks and Rec will be gone, which are two of probably their biggest streamers. Because yes, people do it to just put something on in the background. I know I do.
I don't even think that's what I fear, and what I think the Disney model is changing is Disney again is completely vertically integrated. Right. They own everything they show, and like Marvel pulled that fucking nonsense. To understand our movies fully, you'll have to own the shows. Everyone knows that's absolutely not true. They're not getting a movie through the studio that won't make sense to people who don't watch the Disney shows. They'll have little winks and nods to you. Right. But whatever. It's a way to try to bring more eyes in, right? The problem is that Netflix IP is almost completely garbage, right?
Right.
Like, what do they have that's a really big fan base generator? I mean, Stranger Things obviously is enormous.
Stranger Things is pretty much it. I mean, the other ones got Me Too'd, so it's
and Stranger Things is kind of hitting the end of its cord. Like, how long can we do this? Like, Finn Wolfhard's about to be 6'5" and 30. Like, enough.
Also, I mean, we've already said this on the show when we talked about Stranger Things season 3. If that next season starts up with fucking David Harbour in Russia somewhere.
Which is 100% happening. That's happening. But also, Stranger Things is kind of the microcosm universe of this Disney Plus argument I have, which is, I get it. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Like, what else you got? Like, nostalgia is great. And I like season 3. I'm ready. But that's the problem for Netflix is once they start losing things, right? Like when horror movies re-up with Shudder. And then it's like, oh, well, Netflix makes horror movies. Yeah, they make really bad ones. Okay, all the TV's gone. Well, Netflix makes TV. Yeah, really bad ones.
Yeah, not great.
And that's why you see Netflix made the move that I thought was brilliant, is they jumped really hard into the India Bollywood markets.
Yeah.
So they've been buying up a lot of these South Asian different movies, right, from all the countries over there, which is brilliant decision.
Not only that, they're working
other than
on
that, there's nothing for them specifically to make them necessary. That's what I worry about, right? If
Not only
Hulu
that,
has
they're
live
also,
sports and cable, and Disney has Disney, and Amazon Prime we all have because of shopping, right? Yeah. So like those three make sense. What does every other app offer? Shudder has the horror community, right? That's been their thing. Shudder developed a community that's very tight knit.
Crunchyroll, anime.
Yeah. But then Crunchyroll and Funimation are kind of slugging it out, and then Netflix and Hulu have anime, so the anime ones aren't there. For real cinephiles, you've got Criterion. Okay, HBO, do they have without Game of Thrones, they're probably going to take a big-ass hit. So this is my thing.
I mean,
HBO
again, like,
owns
without
their
Game
IP
of Thrones, I actually think the Game of Thrones ending scenario, I think, opens the gateway for a lot of great stuff to happen at HBO, personally, because they've it's sort of like they've sat there on their golden goose for so long that now that it's gone, and also now that it ended so shittily, I mean, collectively, it's interesting because people talk about it a lot. I didn't realize it was such, a few weeks ago, DB Weiss and David Benioff were on some panel and literally almost got booed off because they were just explaining the arduous process of making the show. And people were so incomprehensibly annoyed with how just blasé they were with the whole thing. And also realizing how bad they were at managing the show in general.
See,
it's pretty
I hate this revisionist history bullshit, though. Because not only did they get yelled at and booed for just honestly talking about how hard it is to make a show.
Right. No, I don't have a problem with it.
No, but because you've worked on shows, and not a show like Game of Thrones either. We've worked on shitty shows. Yeah. Right? It's always hard and arduous, and people use these kind of out-of-context straw men to be like, see, they always fucking sucked. No, they didn't. Game of Thrones is the most important thing in entertainment for 8 years. Well, right? But I hate that, and then they're like, oh, good, they took Star Wars away from it. It's like, guys, they had 1.5 really bad seasons, but people are going back and forgetting how unfucking believable that show was for such a long time. It was awesome. But that panel pissed me off that everyone's like, oh, yeah, we knew it, just because we didn't like the way you chose to end the show, which was never going to make a huge percentage of us happy anyways. Right. That's fucking horseshit.
That's one of those things, that's one of those inside baseball things I think is really difficult because you're right. It's hard. Look, yes, you and I have both made TV shows. Making TV shows it's fun when you start and then it becomes work because that's what this business is. Nobody stays in this business because it's nobody stays in this business for work. They stay in because, what I get to do is cool and fun. Yeah. But
and again, we didn't make TV shows. We were the bottom feeding scum. Yeah, working on TV shows.
It's tough. I can tell you right now, I work on a Nickelodeon show right now, and it's fucking difficult. There are and it's not just I work on a hidden camera show for Nickelodeon, and it's a fucking pain in the ass, man. It is tough work. But at the end of the day, I also know that I still leave and I'm well, that was fun. I can enjoy a percentage of my work, but I also know if I was on a panel talking about how to make it, everything I say would be taken out of context. Yeah. Everything I say would be taken out of context.
Well, everything's always going wrong in all productions. That's kind of the trick, right? That's what they say is that filmmaking is just problem solving. It's always just all falling apart around you all the time.
And if there's
those guys
one show
are experts at it.
Right.
They're
and
amazing
if there's one
at
show
it.
that the only person who's amazing at it by many accounts is actually Clint Eastwood, who constantly comes in on time and under budget, which is next to impossible. Yeah. But who knows, man?
Well, because he's just film me being racist on my porch.
Yeah. I mean,
that's an easier movie to deliver.
Right. That's an easier movie to deliver. You just do that kind of thing. But ultimately, I really think, I think taking that kind of thing out of context is inappropriate and wrong. Yes, it's difficult to make a show of that size. Not only that, if you ever watched that documentary they made during season 4 of them producing the 3rd season of the show, like, I work production. I've worked on a lot of different shows. I've done travel shows. I've done all kinds of stuff. I cannot understand for the life of me how filming that show works, and how how directing that show works, how editing that show works, how like I don't understand how people can get credited on that show as directors. I'm like, there's like 50 different locations in a day that they're shooting simultaneously. How can you do that? Like, it's amazing. So yeah, I agree. Like, it's improper to take those kinds of things out of context, and it's unfortunate that people did, and like also lumped it in with like, that's why they're not doing Star Wars. Fuck off. All right. Like,
yeah, that's annoying.
It is. I think again, like, but going back to what we were talking about, that also goes back to the nostalgia machine, man. Like, we have such reverence for, and as we should, you know, Star Wars is Star Wars. We have such reverence for Star Wars and such reverence for what Star Wars has become, that we don't want anyone to touch it. Yet we allow. Yet like, oh, apparently only J.J. Abrams is allowed to be like. He's like, well, he's the only one who's gotten it, and I'm like, he just remade A New Hope.
Yeah.
Like, so we just want the same shit over. That's why. Actually, I've seen a lot of arguments about The Mandalorian. Be like, man, it's so boring. Like, there's just like such little character development. I'm like, it's 2 episodes in. Like, what do you think's going to happen?
That's what I keep reading too. It's the best thing to happen to Star Wars since Return of the Jedi. I'm like, to be fair, not an enormous amount of great stuff has happened in Star Wars since then.
I don't know about the best thing that's happened to Star Wars since then. I'll say,
I like the new trilogy. I like Rebels. It's fun.
Yeah. I think actually I would make the argument that Rebels is the best thing to happen to Star Wars since the fucking Last Jedi.
I would go with you there if the animation wasn't garbage. Like, I don't understand how Star Wars has been like
it's
their new show
thing.
Because Rebels and the Resistance. Why do you insist on the worst style of animation of all time?
It is
when
very
you are
strange.
now you work for the mouse.
Yeah.
The mouse has always been good at animation. You could get people from all over the world. You could go get the guys that do One Punch Man, whoever the fuck you want.
Right.
Why are you still settling on this terrible fucking animation?
It's very peculiar.
And it's just one of those, they're like, it's Star Wars and cost. We don't need to give you a well-animated show. Eat your soup. And it's like, God damn it. That really bothers me.
I'll say this. I've watched the first 2 episodes of The Mandalorian. It's not like Star Wars at all. Again, I think, this goes back to this reverence people have. Like, oh, it's not Star Wars. I'm like, well, neither is, like, a lot of the other Star Wars. Like, people loved Rogue One, and I thought that was one of the worst Star Wars movies I've ever seen. Like, there's just, I think there's just no accounting for taste. But, like, what I've seen from The Mandalorian makes me excited. It's the best shot Star Wars stuff I've ever seen.
When I get to watch it finally on my wife's free trial, I'm sure I'll dig it.
I also think Dave Filoni, who directed the pilot and also wrote and created Rebels, Dave Filoni proves that animation directors are the best kind of directors for Star Wars going forward. Like, no one understands the visual.
Disagree. Hard disagree.
What? You don't think animation directors can direct live action?
No, I think they can. I think there's no correlation that says that just because this one guy figured it out that I still wouldn't want to see a Lars von Trier Star Wars movie.
All right, I am not.
You wouldn't want to see the house that Maul built.
I am not.
It's just Darth Maul building like a fucking body
not
corpse out of the lower half of his enemies.
At all.
Yes, you are. We're doing it. New segment.
We've already talked about it. Listen, the show's called Lars von Trier's Alderaania. We already talked about it.
All right,
we've already gone over this.
Just let it be known that I'm 100% right, and you all want that movie.
But I do think Dave Filoni is a great director, and he did a really nice job with the first episode. It is cool. It's fun. And then, of course, the internet explodes because cute things happen. So, I don't know. Disney Plus is very fascinating. I'm interested to see where everything goes. I think once they start getting the Marvel series out, that might help a little bit, maybe. I don't know.
Perhaps.
I think it's sort of like a good playground for the bigger brands to mess with their product a little bit without like the fear of like box office poison, which is, I think, actually one of the big reasons that The Mandalorian got rolled out with the premiere, because I'm sure Kathleen Kennedy was like, we can't keep blowing money on Star Wars stories. Is there any way we can do this on our home turf where no one can like tell us, oh, only 10 people watched this movie. Yeah. Now we don't know. Now it's streaming, so we have absolutely no idea who's seen The Mandalorian.
The Disney execs are like, if it could survive the white hot heat of Lady and the Tramp remake, I suppose.
Jesus Christ. Man,
I don't know. Yeah. I'm with you. I think the rollout, it's soft. We already own the stuff we want. I don't get it. But I think that's the point is the best, is that in 3 years, I think this thing will be an absolute new content machine. And that's the value of it. That will be the value of it. It's taking our fun stuff and giving us new and more experimental properties, hopefully. Right. If it doesn't get there, then fine. But right now, it's just a collection of movies we already have. I don't know.
Well, that's essentially what Netflix did. I mean, Netflix started as just movie rentals, and then it branched out into streaming, and then it eventually figured out how to make its own content.
But that was fucking 15 years ago. You've already learned.
It was only 10, bro.
No, because I was getting DVDs when I was in college.
Yeah, but they didn't have streaming yet.
Oh, sorry, my fault.
Streaming started, I think, my last year of college.
Like but if you're a guy who makes cars, you don't have to go back and reinvent the wheel when you start. Hey-o! I think that's my most on-point analogy of all time.
It might be the worst one, I think.
No, it's the best. All right, that's 2 for me, none for Alex. Keep track. Should insert some scoreboard graphics.
You're literally you're the only one keeping score.
I am the James Harden of this podcast.
Oh, sorry, that's sports references, guys. My bad.
Sports.
I'm the Myles Garrett of this podcast.
Woof.
Yes. Yes. You know,
Disney Plus is the melted-headed Mason Rudolph of this podcast.
You know what's really funny is I'm from Cleveland, you're from Pittsburgh, so that actual analogy is pretty apt. So there's one other thing. Have you been watching Watchmen?
No.
Damn it.
I don't watch weekly release television. You know this about me. I wait and do it at once.
We do a weekly podcast. Well, it was at least. So,
we do?
See, I did that one to myself.
Yeah, see? 3!
You don't get 3.
That
Excuse me,
3.
I said it before you. I get the 1.
If you scored on your own goal, that's my points, baby.
Fuck off. Okay, well, I guess we can't talk about that. Thanks a lot.
When Watchmen's done, I would love to do an episode about it.
I really hate you for doing this.
All right, maybe I'll cave and do this. How many episodes total is Watchmen?
I have no idea off the top of my head.
Maybe we can break it down into like thirds or halves.
Sure. Whatever.
I'll do that much. Whatever. I can't do this. Here's 45 minutes, and then here's what happens next week. No, I'm a grown up. Give me what I want now.
I'm not saying. I'm
a grown up who makes the demands of a baby.
I don't need to watch. I don't need to watch all of it. I don't need you to watch all of it. What I need you to do is watch maybe a few, and then we can at least talk about that, like the way we did Legion.
I said I would meet you in the middle, and I'll do like thirds or halves, depending on how long it is.
Okay,
and then we can do it that way.
We'll figure it out. Well, either way, I think we're at least up to 4 episodes with Watchmen. Boxers, have you guys been watching Watchmen? I certainly have, and I think it's actually really good. It's bizarre, and I still don't know where it's going, but you know that's the Damon Lindelof of it all. I didn't realize how much, Griff, when you watch it, I didn't realize how much it would correlate directly just back to the book and not reference the movie like at all.
Yeah, I kind of assumed.
I've actually had 3 or 4 friends text message me and say, "Hey, I don't understand the Watchmen show." And I'm like, well, "Did you read the book?" And they said, "No." I'm like, "That's why you don't understand the show." Like, there is only reference to, there's not a reference to the movie almost at all. It is fun though. It's fun to see squid stuff. I didn't really think I'd actually enjoy that. It is kind of cool.
You missed it. You missed it.
But again, like for a sequel series, I was not expecting much. I walked in expecting total dog shit and being like really uninterested. But Regina King and Jeremy Irons might be the most fascinating people to watch on that show. Even Tim Blake Nelson. I love Tim Blake Nelson. He's like a pop-in here and there. But I think the real MVP of that show when you watch it's going to be Jean Smart, who plays Laurie Blake. She's really cool. I think she's great in everything. She was great in Legion too. Worth watching. Worth watching, Griff. We'll get to that.
I will someday.
Oh God, why do I have to wait for you? It's so old. So
I am a grown man. I don't have time to wait on your schedules.
My bad. All right, so what are you watching on Crunchyroll this week, out of curiosity?
I'm not watching shit on Crunchyroll. I've actually been Criterioning it up.
Ooh, what are you watching on Criterion?
It was like this weird. I had this backlash to all the Freddy versus Jasons and stuff I watched last month. I was like, I'm just going straight class.
So you're just watching David Lean movies for the rest of your life?
Yeah, no, I just get some Yankee candles and I wear a top hat and just watch Marathon Man. You know what I mean? I try to get classy.
No,
I watched Marathon Man, Ugetsu, or Getsu. I'm not.
You're watching Lawrence of Arabia 5 times this week.
Yes.
That's what you're doing.
Just be like, I'm sorry, Goats of Cinema, I'm sorry. No, but that said, I had to take a break from Criterion to watch Carrie 2, The Rage.
Jesus Christ.
So don't worry, I dip my toes in 2 pools, right? I'm in the public pool that's all pee, and then the fancy country club pools. I'm a man torn betwixt 2 worlds.
I'm not sure I told you this, but I watched Midsommar finally.
Yeah, you should watch Midsommar and love it. It's amazing.
It was really, really good, and I don't understand people who might have the most visceral imagery I've ever experienced in a movie, which is the lady jumping off the rock.
Yeah,
that was the grossest thing I've ever seen in a movie.
It's intense, man. That's a fucking good. That's actually, I think, our biggest episode of Film Alchemist ever. We should do a redo with you, where you can tell me your thoughts on it.
I'd be willing to do the redo as long as no one's drunk. That would probably be my.
Yeah, see, I don't even remember the episode we did. I was hammered.
Yeah, that was actually my favorite part. Is you text messaged me at like midnight, and you were like, "We just got out of Midsommar, dude. We got a pod right now." I'm like, it's midnight, man. Like, I'm out. I'm. He's like, "No, we got to do it right now." I'm like, and then you said, "Well, I got someone here with me. We'll just do that." And I'm like, "Cool, you drunk pod, and we'll do that." Because it's fresh. I can't be like the goaltender.
As you know now, I only have 72 years. I have no time to waste.
Oh my god. Yeah, it was great. Andrea watched it and she wasn't even freaked out. And Andrea watched Hereditary alone, which I was super impressed with, by the way. It's interesting actually, like when she's home alone with the kids, she'll watch really fucked up movies. Because it's in the light of day and all that stuff. Another thing, are you reading anything cool this week? Out of curiosity? You said you were reading the new Lemire. Which one?
Yeah, he had a new book that just released in trade format called Frog Catcher.
Oh, okay.
It's weird. It feels like an unfinished idea.
Yeah.
Like it's just this thing where he's like, I have a kind of image I want to do. He throws his classic Lemire anchor around it that ties it to, a personal human trauma.
Right.
And it feels it's very fast. It's kind of all just pencils, black and white, and then it ends a little bit, kind of color, real world stuff. But yeah, that's what I was impressed by that guy, man. I was like, not only the amount of work he does, but the fact that it just feels like something he's like, I'm never going to use any of this, so I'll just throw it in a thing. And it's a worthwhile journey, man. It's like it took me like 30 minutes to read the whole thing. You just fucking fly through it.
Perfect.
But it's fantastic. That guy's just amazing. So that one I was really excited to get my hands on. Then I got some new books. Heroes in Crisis and Doomsday Clock are out now. I'm going to try to read this week.
I do want to read Doomsday Clock. Heroes in Crisis I actually bought. I just wanted to read it because it seemed like an interesting idea. I bought like the first 3 issues. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, man.
Ultimately, I don't know if you saw this. This new comic company called TKO, they've been releasing, like, actually I thought that you were talking about Jeff Lemire's book on TKO, which is his book that he did with Gabriel Walta called Sentient. But I love their release format where they basically did like a 3-pack where it was this book Sentient, Roxane Gay's new book called The Banks, and then I think this other one called Eve of Extinction or something like that. But they release in graphic novel form, and it even has like a cool like slip cover, which I thought was really great. Like it looked awesome. But I would really
all 3 books are bound together as one?
No. They all come together. They all come together in like a bundle, but like they all have this cool little slip cover with them. I would actually ask anyone if you're looking for something new to read, go check out this company TKO. I'm not getting any money for saying this, but I would really like people to go check out TKO. They have some really cool stuff coming out, and they're willing to do a little more off the beaten path books, as we like on this show.
Yeah. No, I love the idea of bundling trades together too. Mm-hmm. I love that idea, man. If you keep the price point low and get people into something they might not be willing to take a chance on otherwise, that's brilliant. Love it. Love it.
Great, man. Yeah. I have not been to the shop in a while, but I also realize I kind of don't want to go a lot of the time because I don't want to buy single issue stuff. And I know I'd be tempted to buy single issue stuff. They also
Sacrilege.
They also
got get yourself off that Disney teat. Get yourself back in the store where the real stories happen.
Yeah, I know. They took away Blast Off, and now it's Collector's Paradise. So
it hurts you. Know. It hurts you to your core. It's hard when you lose your comic shop, man. It's a hard transition.
It is like a weird, like, I have to go in there and like present myself and then like not get judged.
Hey, I'm here. I'm one of you. You are the American in Midsommar now.
I know. Fuck. I'm the fucking Will Poulter pissing on the ancient tree. God damn it. Yeah, I mean, I would be interested to hear what the rest of the boxers think about Disney Plus. Have you had a similar experience to us?
Or I can already tell you exactly what they'll say. It's awesome. It's so awesome. I want it forever. That's kind of how I imagine.
Apparently, all of you sound
Disney
like Tony
fans.
Danza, so you know that's.
Why can't you watch Mandalorian for a week at a time? Why you need it all now?
What's the voice?
It's just like all Italian mixed together but drunk.
Guys, you can catch us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Wherever you find our podcasts, our RSS feed. Please rate, review, and subscribe, particularly on iTunes, because then people can share in the fun. We're back in a big way, guys. Please check us out.
I got another. I think the animation of X-Men cartoon should win an Oscar this year. It's still the best ever because I liked it as a kid. I'll think of some others.
apparently, I'm hosting a show now with some guy who sweatily hovers over an artist's booth at Comic-Con.
They're the only app that give me trigger warnings. It's weird.
Wow. Apparently, we're doing voice. You know what? If I'm going to start the show off with prop comedy, we got to do voice comedy as well. Guys, please rate, review, and subscribe to our show. Also, check out the Film Alchemist podcast this month, The Pod Breaks Bread. We love having you guys around. We love talking to you. Thank you so much for hanging in there with us. We'll get the Spotify thing figured out, whatever it might be. Enjoy your Disney Plus apps, folks. From the Long Box Sessions, I'm Alex Dandino, and he's an Italian goofball.
I'm a guy who just thinks Disney's never made a bad anything. Even the Aristocats. That's a good one. Of course, I still let him watch Apple Up Gang 2019.
Josh Griffey.